Hello, everyone. My name is Lexi, and welcome to Sincerely Self podcast. Today, we are joined by another guest. This is Doug Finkelstein. Doug, give us a little bit of an introduction to you.
Yeah, thanks, Lexi. Appreciate you having me on. So, as you said, my name is Doug. I am located in Los Angeles, and I am committed in life to helping people grow their spiritual practice. So, the shape that that is taking right now is Slow the Fuck Down, which is my community for like-minded people to have the accountability and support to practice yoga, breath work, journaling, being out in nature, all the stuff we know is good and we just can't find the time to work into our schedule, being able to do that and have fun doing it. And then I also run an empathic society, which is a 501c3 nonprofit. And we help consult people looking to take their next step with psychedelics and plant medicine. So getting them connected to any retreats or coaches or practices, whatever they feel is next, doing our best to help them along that path using the network that I've built up in the previous 4 or 5 years being in this space.
That's amazing. I love that. I actually had a guest on here, I want to say 2 months ago, and she talked about her journey with psychedelics. So that's really cool that you kind of help people along with their journey for it.
It's definitely powerful stuff, and
Hmm.
when used intentionally and to grow yourself and move along one's path, they are incredibly potent and valuable as tools in the toolkit of self-expansion and personal development and awareness.
Oh, 100%. Actually, I feel like we should touch on the psychedelic topic towards the end because I would love to revisit this and kind of pick your brain about it.
For sure.
So, kind of first, tell us a little bit about what got you into like self-development and spirituality. What kind of led you to that path?
Yeah, great question. So it kind of goes back to when I was 13 years old. I was very self-conscious about my physical appearance and specifically my hairline. Like everyone, every male in my family is bald, and I was terrified of that outcome. And a family friend prescribed a pill called Propecia for me. That was like a hormonal medication. I took it every day. It's supposed to help with hair loss. And it probably did a little bit, but it had way more significant side effects on me, physical, mental, emotional. And I was on it for 10 years because as a teenager, I feel like I'm risking going bald if I stop taking it. And I wasn't
Hmm.
willing to do that. So I stayed on it. I found an online community of other people taking the same drug and sharing horror stories about their experience. And once I connected with them, I realized this is not what I want for life. What's the point of having hair if I'm not enjoying my life with that hair?
Yeah.
So I quit taking it cold turkey. A couple months later, when I kind of got it out of my system, started to feel more like myself. That was the first time I ever meditated, and I
Hmm.
literally fell asleep lying down on my bed in 5 minutes. But it was
Hmm.
my first meditation, and I've really started to grow my spiritual practice from there. So really just being open, curious, receptive to breath work, yoga, journaling, whatever feels like it could help me, and knowing just having those things around so that at any given point, if I feel like doing one of them, there's no friction, there's minimal friction to do it. And psychedelics was one of those things. When I was 25, I had my first experience. At the time, I was a equity trader working in Manhattan in New York City. I had a beautiful experience in nature with mushrooms with a couple of really close friends. And pretty quickly after that, learned I did not want to work in finance anymore. So
Hmm.
that inspired a big pivot. I moved across the country from New York to Los Angeles, not knowing anyone out here. And pretty soon after I moved out here, I realized how much I enjoyed this this space, this area of learning about myself, plant medicine. So I started my first community, and that is what turned into the nonprofit. And it was just a place for people to talk about their experiences with spirituality and plants and learn from each other and just have like-minded people that they could talk to because a lot of us, our friends, family, are not willing to or aren't knowledgeable about these topics.
Hmm.
So yeah, that really started my kind of community endeavors. I just love being able to connect people on similar topics and spur those conversations. And yeah, as it shows up today, is Slow the Fuck Down, where we have conversations like a couple of weeks ago, we talked about what is the universe? Like, why are we here? And we just,
Hmm.
for an hour, while some of us were cooking, some of us were stretching, some of us were just sitting around on the couch, we just had this audio conversation where we just, talked about it. We do weekly yoga and breath work. We do full moon activities where we gather around the full moon and get intentional about our next month. So, just stuff like this and bringing people together to practice it. And yeah, that's kind of how it got from being a teenager obsessed with my hairline to
Hmm.
stuff a little bit bigger than that.
Yeah, I love how it kind of like your story is such a true testament to the fact that coming across like self-development and spirituality kind of happens when you least expect it. Like it's never something you're really in search for when it
Definitely.
happens. And it always changes your life path. Like I was going to school to be a teacher when I had like this awakening and I was like, that is not what I want to do with my life at all. And so I think it's awesome that you've kind of created a community because usually when you bring these ideas up to your friends and family, they're like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? So having a community of people, that's amazing, that are all on the same wavelength with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure you've seen it as well. And I bet the doing this podcast helps a bunch to be around people that have the same interests as you, that the support and accountability are everything, honestly.
Hmm.
There's days. It's like going to the gym for me. Like I never want to do it, and then I do it, and I feel great afterward. There's so much
Hmm.
of life like that, and it's very hard to do those things if there's no support. There's no other people helping you, guiding you along, reminding you that you made this commitment to yourself. And community solves all of those issues. So yeah, I'm with you 100%.
Yeah. So, kind of with the community that you've created a newsletter. Kind of what was the inspiration behind it and what do you use it for?
Yeah, I'd say my comedic side is the inspiration behind that.
Hmm.
Uh, so the one thing I'll brag about because I am very proud of myself is I've won the New Yorker cartoon caption contest twice, which is like
Yes.
quickly a weekly contest. The New Yorker magazine does it. They put a cartoon, everyone can submit a caption, they vote on the top ones. And yeah, I am so, it's the greatest achievement of my life. Like, I'm so happy that I won it once, let alone twice.
Yeah,
Uh,
twice. Twice is,
yeah.
I would never stop talking about it either. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's the one thing that I framed. I have my graduate degree sitting in the corner over here on the ground, but I have the cartoon caption framed on my wall. So
Yeah, that's the correct
uh,
response, I feel like.
yeah, 100%. So yeah, the newsletter. To be honest, I don't know how it started. I've always been a private person, and I know it's important to be an entrepreneur and to grow a personal brand and to do the things that I'm doing to be a little bit less private.
Hmm.
So I started the newsletter kind of as a way to do that, and it really just turned into something fun to do where I could kind of it was like a journal that like any blog that I could write whatever was on my mind that week and share it out. And if anyone had any interesting thoughts that elicited in them, they could share that with me. And then I'd also share, a meme that
Hmm.
I found funny, do a poll and just ask a random question. Like when you start flossing, do you start in the top right of your mouth or the middle or the bottom left? Like where just stuff that we all do differently that I find interesting as humans. And it's always interesting
Yeah,
to see like what people say. So it's just, yeah, something fun to do every week.
I love that. I love that it's just kind of almost a way for you to express yourself. And express your sense of humor as well. I did see on your website you said that you feel like life is a comedy. So, how have you kind of used that mindset to help you through the changes that you've been in your life?
Oh, that's a great question. I default everything to humor. Like my
Mm-hmm.
first thought is, how can I make a joke about what's happening here, or
Yeah.
what we just saw, or whatever. So, and I find that to be, I feel like everyone should do that. Like I just find it to be a much more optimistic and fun way to look at life, rather
Mm-hmm.
than maybe an anxiety lens of, oh no, this thing happened. What does that mean for me? This is bad. What do I need to do to plan to, it definitely brings like a presence and like a step back, bird's eye view kind of perspective from it, to just see the insignificance of whatever's happening in the grand scheme of things, and to be able to poke fun at that. So I think that's kind of the perspective of it. And then I'd say it makes the work a lot less worky feeling.
Yeah.
Like shadow work, doing this like deep, really looking at the parts of us that are challenging to look at. That's where the growth is. We all know it. How often
Mhm.
we can do it is a totally different question. I find it to be a lot easier, and I'm able to do it with more depth and more frequently and more consistently if there's that lightness, that play, that humor involved.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time, most of society takes life way too seriously. Everything that happens way too seriously. So I think it's refreshing that you have embraced the mindset that like it really is not that serious. It can be like kind of funny just depending on how you look at it. So that's
Yeah.
awesome.
I credit Stoicism for helping the most with
Yeah.
that, I'd say. Yeah. I highly
Mhm.
recommend Meditations, the Marcus Aurelius book, passage compilation for anyone
Mhm.
interested. It's definitely changed my life for the better.
Yeah, I think I also do like meditation and breath work. And I think when I started incorporating that into my life is when I noticed the biggest difference. Everybody talks about it and like recommends it, but once you start doing it, you notice the changes in your mood, you notice the changes in how you're feeling, you notice the changes in how you're thinking. I think it holds such a change that people are just kind of nervous to make.
Yeah, the breath is a psychedelic. There's no question.
Hmm.
If you've been in a deep breathwork session, then you've felt that before, which is
Yeah.
crazy. Like it's this thing we do all the time. We have to do all the time, and with a subtle manipulation with how we do it, we can have these profound experiences. And then
Hmm.
the one step further than that is the intention. Like with any experience, especially altered consciousness, uh, if we're intentional about it and directing that focus and energy toward whatever we want or desire or want to heal, it
Yeah.
it will get us there. It's just a matter of when.
It is. It's just a matter of when. So tell us a little bit about, because you were mentioning how you had been like working in stocks before you had your awakening and you started pursuing something different. What were some of the changes you went through as you were kind of changing your life path?
I would say the biggest one is getting more in tune with myself and what I want, and less what I think I should be doing. And that usually
Hmm.
means people pleasing, or it usually means people pleasing.
Yeah.
And getting more in touch with myself and making the changes in my outer world to reflect that. And that can mean like I moved across the country from New York. I loved my life in New York, but I had to trust my gut that I loved my life. I loved all the people there. My family was there. My friends were there from past half decade.
Hmm.
But I had to trust that, what was right for me was this move to a place I had never been, and I didn't know anyone. Um, so it's really like, I'd say, trusting myself and taking those leaps of faith and learning about myself. I'm not sure uh, if you know about human design and gene
I
keys,
do.
and yeah,
Uh-huh.
I'm a big fan. I discovered it like last year, so I'm relatively new.
Mm-hmm.
But learning about myself and getting that validation of my design and like the way I can live that feels just fluid and natural and in harmony with the flow of things, um, that is difficult. And I'd say that is like what, from the stock trading days until now, what has continued to grow the most. And that really coming back to time really just takes time. Like, and it's not, something a 1, 2 week retreat is going to solve for life. Like that can
Mm-hmm.
definitely help a bunch, but it's really found in the day to day pauses and breaks and contemplation and focusing inward instead of outward. So instead of looking at my hairline, I'm looking at my spiritual hairline, whatever,
Yeah.
whatever that is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree that human design and gene keys completely change the game when it comes to like self-development and especially self-acceptance. It teaches you a lot about yourself, some of the things that you're not necessarily willing to look at and openly accept. Yeah, I'm very new to it. I learned about it, I want to say November. I did a podcast with a spiritual coach and she taught me about it and I was like, "Oh my goodness, I've never even heard of this before. This is crazy."
Yeah, it's some big stuff. I'm curious, are you projector, generator?
Projector.
Projector. That was my
Mm-hmm.
first
What
guess.
about you?
Manifester.
Manifester. So tell us now just a little bit about Slow the Fuck Down. We've mentioned it throughout the episode, but I want to just kind of hear the inspiration behind it and maybe just some of your future goals with it.
Yeah, love that. So it started as something I just did myself to help me get aligned with my highest self, my spiritual growth. And it was doing the combination of yoga and then breath work. And I'd say maybe 50% of the time, smoking some cannabis before doing those two things.
Mm-hmm.
And that the combination of the yoga and breath work is fantastic. The cannabis adds another layer for sure. But both situations are great. And I was just like, I need that uh, once a week to live my life, like to
Mm-hmm.
re-nourish. It's just very important to me. And I feel like a lot of people can relate to just needing that self time. And this is
Yeah.
like the ultimate self time, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was just kind of doing this for myself, and I realized like this is a great tool. I feel like no one's doing it. I want to help other people do it. And it would be fun to do it with other people sometimes. So I started opening up those sessions. I called it therapy night for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's called Slow the Fuck Down. And yeah, I just started opening them up and inviting people to do it with me, and then started to build a community around it. So, in addition to the weekly sessions, it's actually tonight. And if you're interested, I'll send you the link. You can
I would
join us
love that
tonight.
actually.
Yeah, we do a different yoga, different breath work every Thursday, and then we do a full moon one that's a little bit longer, and we go a little bit deeper. That one's actually on Saturday. And we theme these to whatever's going on universally. So I look into like what the indigenous wisdom tells us about, February is the snow moon, and that means,
Mm-hmm.
cleansing and time for reflection and quiet. So we'll kind of gear the activities and that intention I was talking about earlier toward that. So we're not just going in aimless, we are kind of focused on something in our lives. And
Mm-hmm.
inevitably, because we have a group of people doing it, we get great conversation about it. Someone will share something that they're cleansing, and that'll remind someone else of this thing that they weren't even thinking about, but now is, really important for them. Like, uh, just those synchronicities that happen when you're around like-minded people definitely pop
Yeah.
up a lot here. And yeah, growing the community, moving forward, and what we've started to implement is we do a bi-weekly wisdom talk. So whatever the theme is of that 2 week period, we'll just get together and meditate on it and discuss it. People will usually recommend podcasts or books or something related to the topic that other people can go check out. And
Hmm.
going forward, I want to bring more seasonality into it with like spring, summer, fall, kind of just putting some boundaries around those seasons to continue to like really hone in. Because my goal personally is to be as in harmony with just the earth and the universe and the flow of things that way. So I feel like I force myself to do it by doing it through the community because I participate in every event. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's really just like a big kind of experiment to for myself and for the people interested to continue to grow ourselves and with each other.
Yeah, it's literally just a community for everybody to better themselves, everybody to bring the things that they like and the things that make them who they are and just share it with others. Something that I say on the podcast all the time is that who you surround yourself with is who you are going to become. Like, you need to
Mm.
surround yourself with like-minded people. So I love that you've just created a space for people to do that.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And you know, the people around you, everything around you is a reflection of your inner world.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, if you can surround yourself with good people, then it's a good sign.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the last question that I have for you, and I like to ask all my guests this, just advice on for anybody who is starting the spirituality journey, starting the self-development journey, what advice would you give them?
Trust your gut, whether it's a retreat you've been thinking about, something as big as a retreat you've been thinking out to something as small as asking a question to a spiritual friend that posted something and it caught your eye and you just haven't bothered to reach out. Just like do the thing, trust your gut,
Hmm.
and see where it goes. Because that's all spirituality is like just living in harmony with the universe. So if you had an inkling to do it, and you know, it's a lot easier to do it, even if it doesn't seem that way, than it is to resist and everything gets bottled up inside. I don't like that. Just let it all let it all
Yeah.
go and go with the flow.
And I feel like the more that you push something like that off, I genuinely feel like things are going to get to the point that you feel like you have no other option than
It's
to go
gonna happen
inward.
anyway. You might as well
Yeah,
do it when it's easier. Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
for
Okay,
sure.
awesome. Well, I will leave the links for Slow the Fuck Down in the description of the episode, as well as Doug's website, so you can go and check all that out. I'll have all of his links there. You said you were doing one today and then one on Saturday, right?
That's right.
Awesome. I will definitely be posting about those on the Sincerely Self podcast socials so that everybody can go and check those out. You should send me the one for today. That sounds really fun.
Yeah, well, send it right now.
Okay, perfect. All right, and I will see you guys next week.